Calls mount against Stephanie White as Caitlin Clark left dejected by Indiana Fever HC's tactics. When Caitlin Clark made her return on June 15th after missing 5 games because of a quadriceps injury, she looked more dominant than ever. Her comeback was immediately felt, as she put up a 32-point performance against the New York Liberty and followed it with 20 points versus the Connecticut Sun. But that momentum didn't last long. Since then, Clark has gone 0-for-7 and 1-for-10 from beyond the arc in her last 2 games. So, you can see why spectators aren't exactly thrilled with her recent performances. But if you think it's just Clark's cold shooting that's to blame for affecting the Fever, well, it's not that simple. It all started when the Indiana Fever star, who previously drained shots from 34, 31, 31, 28, and 27 feet against the Liberty, began missing even 22-foot three-pointers. In the game against the Golden State Valkyries, Clark led in 3 out of 4 quarters, but went cold in the 4th. The result? Indiana fell short and took a tough loss to the Vox. Then came their showdown at T-Mobile Arena against the Las Vegas Aces, led by the indomitable Aya Wilson. The Fever jumped to a double-digit lead early, and for a moment, it looked like an upset win was in the cards. But the 4th quarter told a different story. The Aces surged back and handed the Fever their second straight loss, 89-81. And once again, Clark's cold shooting became a major talking point on social media. She went 7 of 20 overall and just 1 of 10 from deep. Over the past 2 games, she's a combined 1 of 17 from beyond the arc. Obviously, it's frustrating as you want them to go in. Even tonight, I felt like there were a few that felt really good off my hand and they just didn't go down, Clark said during the post-game press conference, shedding light on her ongoing struggles. And she's right, because shooting aside, Clark's playmaking ability is still elite. She recorded 19 assists over those 2 games, which is impressive given her season average of 8.9 assists per game. So while many might chalk this up to just a rough shooting stretch, others, like Rachel DeMita, echoed that sentiment. It just happens, you guys. Sometimes players have bad games. Sometimes coaches have bad games, shared DeMita, believing these 2 outings fall into that category. But if you ask fans in the comment section, they're not so sure that's the full story. For fans, it's not Caitlin Clark or the Fever squad, but it's Stephanie White who's the target. As fans tuned in to hear what RDA had to say about Caitlin Clark's cold shooting night, they couldn't hold back and flooded the comment section with their perspectives. For many, the blame didn't fall on Clark, but rather on head coach Stephanie White. As one user summed up the fan sentiment perfectly, "This is all the coach." White needs to watch Fever games from last season and see how fast-paced is the only way they will beat teams. Fast pace will open up shots for CC, as well as her passing. When was the last time we saw a full-court pass from CC? At Iowa in preseason. Well, it all comes up after Clark's struggle in San Francisco, as she was aggressively crowded on the perimeter and met with strong interior defense, something that was clearly anticipated and highlighted by Coach White. Even after the loss to the Aces, White emphasized that the coaching staff is responsible for creating higher quality looks for Clark, acknowledging that opponents are trying to force her to score inside the three-point line by using physicality and coverage to wear her down. And that was something that spectators didn't like. The shooting slump isn't the problem. I think Clark seems demoralized because she genuinely respects White, and she is disappointed at White trying to slow things down. They will be fine. But not until Clark and White work out their issues. And 100% this falls on White. It should start with White just allowing Clark to be Clark, added another user. And it's not just about Clark and White. Even during Clark's absence, White's tactical decisions came under scrutiny. As Fever's offensive structure collapsed without Clark, who leads the team in scoring, 16.3 ppg, assists 6.2 apg, and 3-point attempts, 7.1 per game. White opted to start veteran Sydney Colson, a traditional point guard with limited shooting range, over Sophie Cunningham, who, although not a natural floor general, spaces the floor better with a career 36.3% three-point percentage. And that decision backfired quickly, as Colson tallied just 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting with 3 assists and a loss to the Washington Mystics. The Fever shot a season-worst 17.6% from 3 and posted only 60 points, their lowest in weeks. What made the situation worse was Aaliyah Boston's inconsistent involvement. For context, in a game against Mystics, she attempted just 5 shots. And in the very next game against the Liberty, she made 12 of her